Ethereum and Dogecoin are hitting record highs again today as blockchain and crypto continue gaining mainstream acceptance. Ethereum is now far outperforming Bitcoin for the year. It's up 344%. And today, the S&P launched the S&P Bitcoin Index, the S&P Ethereum Index, Bob, and the S&P Crypto Mega Cap Index. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I'll go out on the limb and I will say that eventually I think Ethereum will be more valuable than Bitcoin. I say that because Bitcoin is essentially just a cryptocurrency. Ethereum, though, is smart contracts and far more versatile. And they call it decentralized finance, but it's not really that. It's decentralized everything. Using Ethereum as a smart contract, you can use it to transfer ownership of real estate, for example. You could do it to transfer ownership of stocks and clear stocks. You can use it to send money overseas if you want to somebody else. It's just a lot more versatile, and I think people are starting to finally figure that out. That's why you're seeing that outperformance.
Bob Bassani with the big call that Ethereum, I mean, I'm going to be checking your Twitter feed, Bob, because it's not even provocative, right? I mean, these are the bull cases for ownership of
blockchain.
Yeah.
Ethereum realizes the true potential of blockchain, which is a means of answering the question, how do I know I own anything? A big problem throughout the whole history of mankind, and Ethereum can be used for a lot of different ways to answer that question, a lot of different applications.
Yeah, but still, Courtney, it has its flaws. I mean, I don't know enough about it, but I know that the critics say that it has anti-network effects, it has high transaction costs, that there are some security issues, that it's run by sort of, and this is the kind of, I guess you would call it the irony of a lot of these decentralized crypto plays is that they're actually very centrally managed, just like our own Fed.
I know. Isn't that so interesting, Kelly? I'm kind of in the same boat with you. Just when I think I'm starting to understand it, then someone else throws out an argument that makes me question it all over again. But I do like Bob's point about Ethereum being a platform, sort of like the blockchain, of course, is attached to Bitcoin. So I feel better about Ethereum than maybe Ether, but of course I know they sort of work hand in hand. Dogecoin, though, that one still just makes me feel silly. Like, it just seems irresponsible. It started with this dog meme. I spent a lot of time trying to understand it, and then I was more confused when I was done trying to figure it out. I don't know.
And it's at 58 cents today. So for everybody who remembers when it was a penny, that tells you just how extended this crypto move is getting. All right, moving along. Goldman is downgrading Kroger shares to sell today and Albertsons to neutral, citing slower consumer demand as local economies reopen. Plus, of course, rising costs from inflation. They've also lowered price targets on both stocks. They prefer Albertsons because of its smaller exposure to inflation risk and its cheaper stock price. Both names are lower today. Kroger's down about 4%, but posting gains so far this year. Bob, your comments?
Well, look, what's happening here is all the positive trends from last year are going to reverse now. So the work from home is not going to, I think, work as well here. The competitive landscape is going to get worse in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Aldi has opened up here. And, of course, we've got Amazon. So we're going back to the same old problems the supermarkets have had. Intense competition that's only getting worse. And now we've got the additional problems with the higher costs. We haven't even talked about the higher labor costs. You know, where do you get these are unionized shops here. So you're going to have a lot of problems in the near future.
Julia, what would you add?
I would say that we're up against some tough comparisons with the year-ago period. Remember, last March, April, May, people were really buying a ton of groceries and a lot of occasions hoarding them at home. They were stockpiling last year in this quarter. And then you also have the fact that as people get out and about more, they're going to be eating more out. They're not going to be cooking and eating every single meal at home. And I think then you're going to see the grocery stores have to reckon with the fact that people might be buying lunch when they're out at their office, something which they never did a year ago.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Raise your hand if you own a Roomba here. 2 out of the 3. Bob with the old school approach. All right. Courtney, I want to talk to you about this then, because the iRobot maker, Roomba maker iRobot, I should say, is sinking today. It's down more than 10%. This was after results that beat first quarter estimates, but the guidance, it warned it has to carefully manage spending in order to deal with rising costs from raw materials and headwinds from the ongoing chip shortage. And we're seeing, Court, this chip shortage showing up everywhere these days.
everywhere. I mean, this guy, we call ours the Wobot. And he's very smart, but you do sort of have to train him to move around furniture and this and that. It's also an expensive product. It's not one you're going to buy over and over. And maybe as you stay at home, work from home, work out from home, you look around and see dirt and dust a little bit more. So maybe that was sort of a pulled forward demand, but now people are getting out of the house again. Maybe poor Wobot gets backed into his corner and not used as much. Maybe we feel more comfortable letting a housekeeper's back into our house. So I could see some worries on the forefront going forward for iRobot.
Julia, you have a Wobot?
Yeah.
I do. I have my Roomba. We call him Fred. We turn him on when the house looks dirty, which is quite frequently. But here's the thing. We invested in a Roomba. We don't need to buy another one now. We also invested in a Peloton, and we pay a monthly fee to Peloton to access those classes. And I think that is the difference between these two types of companies that saw a benefit from the pandemic. Yeah. And I think that, there are only so many Roombas you could buy.
Yeah, basically, iRobot needs to adopt a monthly subscription model, I think is what Julia's saying. Real quick, Bob?
Yeah, I don't have a Roomba named Fred. I have a broom named Gladys. But here's the thing. Forget about the component cost. This stock was up 200% last year. It was one of the biggest winners of the work-from-home trade. Now, the momentum guys look at this. They look at the report. They say, there's nothing else here, really. And you can use component costs as an excuse. But please, it's been up 200%, and it's about time it's came back down
and
again.
We're starting to separate the permanently higher plateau stocks like big tech from the pandemic hangover stocks. And unfortunately, iRobot may be in the latter. What about Clubhouse, Julia? These numbers are fascinating. I mentioned this recently, but there's kind of this meme going around about how nobody actually uses Clubhouse. Well, now maybe the data are backing it up, because after hitting 9 million downloads just 2 months ago, less than 1 million people signed up in April, according to new figures. And we know that Twitter and Apple, of course, are making big pushes into the space. Julia, is it already over for Clubhouse? What do you think?
Well, what is so interesting about these numbers is that February was a month of spectacular growth for Clubhouse. Over 9 million people signed up, but then that growth slowed down dramatically. You just saw those numbers in the chart up there. But what's interesting is they say that the people who have downloaded Clubhouse and signed up for it, they're still engaging with the platform. So there's strong retention among people who are using it, but the growth has really just fallen off a cliff. The question to me is that decline in the growth rate due to the fact that people are leaving their houses again, they're going out to restaurants, doing all these things, maybe even going to movies that they didn't do before when they had more time to engage on Clubhouse? Or is it because you have Twitter Spaces and all of these other audio platforms where you can engage without having to open up a separate app on your phone? Twitter has the advantage of the fact that you're already listening, you're already on Twitter, and you just start listening instead of reading that feed. So I think those are the two things to watch, and we'll see whether those growth trends reverse again.
Courtney?
I have never been on Clubhouse, and for a while I felt like, I'm missing out, but maybe I'm not anymore if we're looking at these trends. Julia is saying, of course, if you're already on it, you're still engaging, but maybe the growth is slowing. If I'm going to take some time to listen to something, it's probably going to be a podcast. And because I'm not commuting right now, Kelly, and also I'm not running as much as I probably should be, I'm not really listening to podcasts either.
It's funny you say that. I just got back in the car, obviously, a couple of weeks ago, and I'm back, and it's so nice, Bob, to be able to listen to all this content again about how to discipline toddlers. Go ahead.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. So I'm not on Clubhouse either. I'm with Courtney because it interferes with my time playing Super Mario Brothers at night and other cutting-edge games, because I'm a cutting-edge gamer type. But here's what I would say about the podcast. 5 years ago, there were 500,000 podcasts in the United States. Not 500,000 people listening, 500,000 podcasts. Today, there's over 2 million podcasts.
Yeah.
Everything that's popular gets absorbed in popular culture. It happened 23 years ago with the chat rooms. It's happened with the podcast industry. And it's going to happen with things like Clubhouse. We have Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. They're all doing competitions. So it's a natural kind of evolution to see it have a little trouble.
And I think it'll be tough for Clubhouse to sort of maintain its exclusive status.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.